All right, what's going on, you guys? It's BoxingWave. Gonna do a few videos real quick, okay? You guys know, in my recent video, I told you guys I recently moved, and just still trying to get everything situated in here. I just got the Wi-Fi, the cable hooked up, so I couldn't really do videos because I had to do everything through my cell phone. But I'll be back up doing videos and stuff like I normally do. Um, So tonight we have Jarrett Hurd and Erislandy Lara. You already saw my breakdown on the fight. Most of you did. I'm still getting reactions to it. Uh, Based on what I'm seeing, there's a lot of people that don't think Jarrett Hurd is that good. There are people out there that just think he's overrated and think Lara's going to school him. You know, and then there are people that think Jarrett Hurd is just going to straight knock Lara out. So uh, definitely a good matchup. You know, Lara is my favorite fighter. If you didn't know that already, Lara's been my favorite fighter. But besides him, besides Floyd and Miguel Cotto in recent years, Lara's always been my favorite fighter. So I'm gonna ride with Lara. But this is the most dangerous fight that I've seen him get into since I've had this boxing channel. Okay, even more so than Canelo. I knew he was going to beat Canelo, even though he didn't. But I went into that fight knowing that this fight is all bad for Canelo. And most people think Lara won that fight. Um, but this is the most dangerous fight for him, based on the way Lara, Hurd has been fighting lately, um, being extremely aggressive. All right, getting hit a lot, but being extremely aggressive is effective. Beating Harrison the way he beat him, beating Trout the way he beat him. His size. He's huge compared to Lara. Lara's not a big guy, even at 154. He's not a big dude. Okay, so I think this is gonna be Lara's toughest fight. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a few things you have to look at when trying to pick who's going to win this fight. Uh, you have to take Lara's age into account. Okay, he's 35 years old. He's about to be 35 this week. I just checked. He's gonna be 35. So if you've seen all his fights since the Canelo fight, you will know that he's doing a lot more standing in front of his opponent and not as much moving. Okay, if you look at the Ishe Smith fight, Terrell Gasia fight, all those fights, all right? And he didn't fight anybody great since he lost to Canelo. Okay, he hasn't had a really big fight since then. If you look at all those fights, you will notice that he's not doing nearly as much movement. All right, he fought Vanas Martirosyan again. That was a tough fight. He's just not doing the same stuff. All right, and that's pretty good for most people because I know a lot of people don't dislike his style. Um, I like Lara. I became a fan of Lara because of his earlier career. Earlier fights like with Paul Williams and the fights before that and a couple fights after that. Uh, it wasn't until like maybe, I can't really remember which fight where he started moving a lot. Started annoying fans and shit. But, yo, I just think it's going to be a tough one. And you got to also look at things like ring size. How big is that ring? Because if he's able to stand in front of Hurd, I doubt he does it throughout the whole fight. Because Hurd is going to turn it up at some point. I'll give Hurd 4 or 5 rounds before he starts to turn it up. He's going to turn it up at some point. Can Lara hurt him? I don't know. I think Lara's left hand is stronger than any punch that Austin Trout and Harrison had. I say that for sure. Like I know that for sure. Between all the guys that Hurd beat, like Frank Lalarza and all these guys that he beat, I think Lara's left hand is way more accurate and is more powerful. Okay, because Lara at one point was knocking dudes out. He was knocking dudes straight out. You know, um, You have to put that all into account. You also got to look at Hurd and his opponents and the people that he beat. When you look at Trout and you look at Harrison, neither one of them fights anything like Erislandy Lara. Okay, so I know Hurd looked impressive by stopping those guys, but Lara is way better defensively. You know, um, he's way better. There's no comparison, and Lara's not gonna fight the same way as those guys. You know, so those guys at points were trading with Hurd, which is ridiculous. Harrison, a guy that has good legs, who has light feet, really wasn't using his legs that much. All right, he gasses pretty quickly. We saw when he lost to Willie Nelson that he got tired and he's nowhere near the same fighter in the second half of his fights. Okay, um, and same with Trout. Trout is a dog, and he doesn't have the punching power to trade with a guy like Jarrett Hurd. He just doesn't have it. Hurd just didn't respect his power. And Austin Trout really didn't have a plan B in that fight. You know. Plus, he hasn't been that active. So you have to take that into account. You can't expect Lara to go in there and do what Austin Trout, even though they're both southpaws. You can't expect the same outcome based on that. I really don't know what to expect. I don't know. Because Lara's the type of dude that will get in the ring with someone that's really good and make them look bad, based on the way he fights. Um, but at the same time, like I said, Lara is getting up there in age. And for him to fight a guy that pressures him at this point in his career, especially because he hasn't fought anyone like this since Angulo, it's going to be tough. I think Jarrett Hurd is better than Angulo ever was. I already think that. Is Jarrett Hurd better than Paul Williams? I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that. But between the Paul Williams fight and Lara did much better against Paul Williams than he did against Angulo. I think Angulo gave him everything that he had. Angulo definitely gave him his toughest fight. I think it was debatable who was winning that fight, especially because of the two knockdowns. Lara needed a knockout to secure that one with those two knockdowns. Now, Paul Williams, he brings the volume. He brings a lot of volume but it's not like the same pressure with Hurd. Hurd is coming with bad intentions. Hurd is trying to knock you out. Williams was bringing a lot of volume and pressure, but wasn't the same. Hurd is trying to destroy you. Williams is coming with the volume, but he's still trying to box, throwing a lot of jabs and stuff. Not many power shots and his pressure. So I think that this is probably the hardest fight. It's arguably the hardest fight in Lara's career. Like I said, I'm riding with him, but this gonna be a tough one. This is gonna be a tough one. Or you never know. It might be an easy one. Because Lara does, when it comes to his defense, you gotta understand that Lara can not only is he going to be moving. I don't think he's going to be moving early. I think it's going to be like at the 3-4 rounds, when Hurd steps it up. But when Lara moves, he has that high guard. He's covering up. He's expecting his opponent to go to his body. His opponents always go to his body. I'm worried about later in the fight. I'm worried about the 8th round, the 9th round. I'm worried about those rounds. When Hurd is really pressuring him. Because I don't think Hurd is going to lay down. I don't think he's going to slow down. I think his power, I think his pressure, I think he's willing to take the hits. It's just, whether or not Lara can hurt him. If Lara can hurt him, then he's all good. And, another thing, too, with Lara, like, I know he didn't look impressive in the Terrell Gaucher fight, but you got to understand that Lara fights better against guys that's going to bring the pressure. Terrell didn't do much. Lara didn't do much. Lara's not going to lead too much. He's not going to do much. He's a counter puncher. He's a defensive fighter. So if you bring the pressure to him, that's when he's at his best. That's why we got those Angulo fights. His best fights are Angulo and Paul Williams, without doubt. No, no debating. Those are his best fights. You know why? Because those guys bring the pressure. So this should be a great fight. This should be the best Lara fight we've seen in a long time. I just think ring size is going to matter. I think what Lara's age is going to matter. You know, is he able to still move that much if he has to? Is he still going to be willing to do it? He has to stand and fight with him at some point. He has to stand and fight because if it goes to the cards, which is very possible, if it goes to the cards, there's a good chance that Lara might lose the decision because you gotta understand the judges are gonna like the aggressiveness from Hurd. You know, Lara got 2 losses on his belt because the other fighter was aggressive, even though I didn't think he lost either one of those fights. You know, I thought he clearly beat Paul Williams. I thought Paul Williams only got like 2 rounds on that fight. Canelo got 4, maybe 5 rounds on that fight. You know. So Lara has to fight. He has to fight. But that's when Lara's at his best, when you back him up. When you back him up, when you come at him, he's going to let his hands go more. All right? Should be a good fight tonight. I just hope nothing crazy happens. Hopefully you don't get no cuts, you know, no headbutts, nothing that can mess up and ruin the fight. You know, like we did in Navanas Monterosian first fight. Hope nothing like that happens. You know, I hope everything is smooth. Hope we don't get no low blows, anything like that. Hope it's a good fight. A good, fair, clean fight. I hope the referee, that's another thing. You got to look at the ref too. Because Lara likes to push off with his shoulders. If the ref is, if crowding Lara, he's going to push off with his shoulders. If the ref doesn't allow that, that's going to be a problem for Lara too. There's a lot of things there. But I do think that people are underestimating Lara and the fact that he doesn't fight like Trout and Harrison. These guys are not on his level. You know, you saw what happened when Trout got in there with Lara. Lara destroyed this dude. So the ref is the fact that a lot of things are going to be factored in this fight. You got to factor in. So, we'll talk, you know, more after the fight is over. But I'm going with Lara. I'm going to go with Lara until I see him beat. I don't think anybody, I can't pick anybody at 154 to beat Lara. I think the only person I said on camera that I think could beat Lara was Triple G. And that's when they were talking about Lara moving up to fight him. You know, that was a few years back. You know, that's the only dude on camera that I said I think could beat Lara. You know. So anyway, let me know how you guys feel about this. You know, I did another video on that. If you want to see more of me talk about this fight, you can watch the other video. But I tried to touch on some of the points that I didn't bring up in that video. You know, with the ref and the ring size and stuff like that. But anyway, it should be a good fight. So I'm gonna make a couple other videos real quick. So be on the lookout for those, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.